Oh, bright lights. Everybody ready? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. This last week has been a rough one for HPD and our community. I'd like to start by providing an update on two of our officers who were critically injured. Last Thursday, one of our officers was struck in the head with a heavy metal object before the suspect stole the officer's car and drove off. Other officers were able to locate and follow the suspect until the vehicle was stopped and the driver was arrested. The officer has since been released from the hospital and is continuing to recover at home. Shortly before midnight on Sunday night, an officer who was directing traffic for a motor vehicle collision in the H3 tunnel was hurt when he was struck and pinned between his vehicles. The officer remains hospitalized with extensive injuries, and the investigation is ongoing. His path to recovery will be a long one, and we continue to support both the officers and their families during this difficult time. At this time, I'd like to talk about traffic safety. Last Wednesday, a family lost a 16-year-old daughter when she was killed while crossing the street to go to school. After initially fleeing the crash scene, the driver turned himself into HPD. Sarah's family and friends, though still in shock and grief, have reached out to HPD and others. They want her death to be a sobering reminder of the frailty of life and how all of us have a shared responsibility in keeping Oahu's roads safe. Along with Sarah's family, HPD is asking everyone to look out for each other, whether you're operating a motor vehicle, a moped, riding a bicycle, or crossing the street. Focus on what you're doing and avoid distractions. Drivers, please slow down and allow extra time to get where you're going. Moped operators and bicyclists, please follow the laws and watch out for the vehicles. For pedestrians, use crosswalks when you can and try to make eye contact with drivers. Since January 1st, HPD traffic investigators have responded to 10 traffic fatalities and 12 critical incidents. Let's try to keep this number down and get everyone home safely. I now open up to your questions.
In regards to a situation where you have a traffic stop, there are laws on the books, as I understand, how drivers are supposed to behave when they are approaching and see lights flashing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the move over law was passed in 2012 after two other officers were killed, unfortunately, by drivers. And so what we're asking is to move one lane over to create a buffer zone between the traffic and the officer that's on the shoulder of the road or in a traffic lane. If there's no lane to move over, then to slow down to an appropriate speed to allow you a safe passage so that the officer's safety and the other people that are involved in, say, the investigation of an accident or a traffic citation or that, whatever the officer is pulled off to the side for or in the road for, that you provide safety for all of them that are there. So that's what we're asking for, the move over law.
Chief, are police seeing an increase in attacks on officers like the one involving the hammer out playing it?
So we have seen, I think, these two incidents were 2 of 8 this year of 2023. We've had probably 80 to 90 assault on officers in a given year, so that's about the average. And any one of those is too high.
Chief, do you know if body camera footage is being reviewed in the H3 incident? Officer body cam footage?
I believe that's part of the investigation. They're looking at all of those things, yes.
Chief, when officers are injured in the line of duty or assaulted, are there any internal investigations that go on to see if policies were followed or anything like that?
Yes, anytime, in all types of investigations, there are policies and procedures that are being looked at, whether we want to update our policies to correct things that may be deficient, or if we want to improve the policy, or the policy is whole and sound, and so we're verifying that. But in the event that the officers are injured, or there's a multiple of things that are occurring at the same time through investigation to determine the cause and how we can best keep our officers safe.
I know both officers that you mentioned at one time or now were listed in critical condition. Can you update us on the exact condition of the officer?
So I know the one officer is released from the hospital, is recovering, so I don't believe he's no longer in critical condition. The officer still in the hospital recovering, is at least in serious condition and still going through recovery.
Is there a criminal investigation or a traffic investigation? What would you call a traffic investigation if the officer got hit while he was on duty?
It's a motor vehicle collision involving the car and a pedestrian, so that accident or collision investigation is still ongoing.
Chief, is it too early to say whether that officer in the H3 will have use of his both legs?
We're still investigating and he's still recovering, so that'll pan out as we know more in the future.
Was the motorist taken in at all in the H3 incident?
No, he was cooperative at the scene. He was interviewed, and I believe a statement was taken from him at the scene.
Chief, are you aware of a officer injured in this morning's Macy's burglary at all?
I understand that there may have been an officer that involved in the investigation, looking for the suspect in the roof of Macy's, may have been injured, but I think he refused any type of treatment at the scene.
Chief, just wrapping up for me, in the H3 incident, we heard that there was two cars involved, one that was stopped and the other car that swerved. We're hearing that it might have been that car that was driving, when he swerved, hit the car that was stopped, and that car hit the officer. Is that still part of the investigation? Who exactly hit the officer?
Yeah, all that is part of the investigation, that's
So
true.
not
So
clear at this time.
not clear at this time, so we'll know more as we pursue this investigation. Okay? Well, thank you very much for your time, I appreciate it.